Have you ever wondered if there's something deeper, something you haven't yet grasped in the words of Jesus? Imagine uncovering teachings that could transform the way you think, live, and even overcome the challenges you face every day. This video will take you beyond the surface of the Sermon on the Mount, revealing truths that can change how you see the world and, more importantly, how you see yourself. If you've ever felt lost, unsure of which priorities to follow, or have been searching for an inner peace that always seems just out of reach, this video is for you. In the next few minutes, you'll learn practical and powerful lessons that will help you reorder your life, strengthen your relationships, and find unshakable confidence amidst difficulties. Want to discover how these ancient words can have a real impact on your daily life? Then keep watching, because what you're about to learn might be exactly what you need. Imagine yourself in ancient Galilee, over 2,000 years ago, where the air is fresh and the landscape stretches out in gentle hills covered with low vegetation. On top of one of these hills, a crowd gathers, anxious and silent, awaiting the beginning of something grand. It's a day like any other, but the atmosphere is charged with an almost palpable anticipation. At the center of the scene is Jesus of Nazareth, a simple figure, yet with a magnetic presence, preparing to speak. He has no crowns or thrones, but there's something in his demeanor that captivates everyone present. The faces in the crowd reflect a mix of hope and curiosity. They've come from afar, drawn by tales of miracles and words of wisdom, and now, in that moment, they're about to hear a message that will change the course of history. As he begins to speak, Jesus doesn't use the lofty tone of a king or the elaborate rhetoric of a philosopher. His words are clear, direct, and strike the heart of each listener like a precise arrow. He chooses not to address the powerful, but the humble, the forgotten, those often ignored by society. There's a serene calm in his voice, but also a firmness that makes every word echo through the surrounding hills. The crowd, made up of fishermen, farmers, and mothers, feels that these words are for them, that at that moment, they are the protagonists of a new narrative. A whisper runs through the group, a mix of awe and reverence, for they are witnessing something that is at once simple and revolutionary. Jesus begins to speak about the Beatitudes, words no one had ever heard before. He doesn't promise wealth or power, but something much deeper: blessings for the poor in spirit, comfort for those who mourn, and justice for those who hunger and thirst for it. These words resonate powerfully because they challenge the conventions of the time. In a society where wealth and status were seen as signs of divine favor, Jesus offers a new kind of blessing, one that cannot be bought or sold. The impact of these words is immediate, creating a sense of upheaval that the world as they knew it was about to change forever. As Jesus continues, the crowd begins to realize that he's not just offering comfort, but proposing an inner revolution. He speaks of meekness, mercy, purity of heart, and peace. He reverses the logic of the world, where the powerful dominate and the weak are oppressed, suggesting that the truly blessed are those who choose the harder, but more rewarding path of love and compassion. With each word, the listeners are challenged to reevaluate their own lives, their priorities, and their beliefs. They feel they are being called to something greater, to a purpose that goes beyond everyday concerns. And it is in this striking setting, with the hills of Galilee as witnesses, that one of the greatest lessons of all time begins. Those words are not just for those present, but for all who come after, including you, who are now reading about this historic moment. You are invited to transport yourself to that hill, to feel the gentle breeze on your face, and to hear the words that echo through the centuries, calling you to a new understanding of what truly matters in life. But the journey doesn't end here. Along this path, other revelations await, challenging even more the notions we have about life and happiness. The Beatitudes, with their promises of blessings to the humble and afflicted, are a direct invitation for each individual to reconsider what it means to be truly blessed. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus does not exalt the powerful, the rich, or the influential. Instead, he directs his words to the poor in spirit, to those who mourn, and to those who hunger and thirst for justice. There's a clear subversion of conventional values, where success is measured by the accumulation of goods or social status. Jesus redefines the concept of happiness and fulfillment, suggesting that these are found not in material possessions, but in a humble state of mind and a life dedicated to love and justice. By proposing this new definition of blessing, Jesus challenges the common perception that suffering and poverty are signs of divine disfavor. On the contrary, he places these individuals at the center of his message, transforming what many would consider weakness into a form of spiritual strength. Imagine, for example, a person who, amidst financial difficulties, finds inner peace through faith and hope. To the world, this person may seem devoid of success, but through the lens of the Beatitudes, they are profoundly blessed. The message here is clear. Adversities are not just to be endured, but to be transformed into opportunities for spiritual growth. This concept of blessing extends beyond personal situations to encompass interpersonal relationships. Jesus suggests that those who promote peace, show mercy, and are pure in heart are also blessed. He's not just talking about peace in a global sense, but the peace each person can promote in their own social circle. Think of a family feud where someone decides to forgive and extend a hand instead of fueling the conflict. This simple but powerful act is a direct reflection of what it means to be a peacemaker, a blessed one according to Jesus' words. The blessing in this case lies not in public recognition, but in the restored harmony and personal growth that comes with forgiveness. The Beatitudes, therefore, are a call for an inner revolution where traditional measures of success and happiness are completely re-evaluated. They are not empty promises, but practical guidelines that can transform anyone's life. By applying these principles, like seeking justice in your daily actions or offering mercy to those who need it most, you begin to experience a truly blessed life, even if the world around you doesn't recognize it. It's a way of living that goes against the current, that requires courage and determination but offers a reward that goes beyond earthly expectations. And so, as Jesus' words echo through Galilee, they also find resonance in the hearts of those who, today, seek a life that transcends the superficial. True blessedness does not lie in avoiding difficulties, but in facing them with unwavering faith and an open heart. But as we will see next, this new vision of blessing also brings with it a revolution in human relationships, challenging even further the established norms of the time and paving the way for a new way of interacting with others. Throughout the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus not only redefined what it means to be blessed, but also sparked a profound revolution in human relationships. In a culture where vengeance was often seen as a right, and where the law of an eye for an eye dominated, his words brought a radical call to transformation. He introduced concepts like meekness, mercy, and love for one's neighbor, challenging the way people should relate to one another. Jesus didn't just preach. He showed a new path where forgiveness and reconciliation became the cornerstones of a truly meaningful life. Consider, for example, Jesus' teaching on turning the other cheek. At first glance, it might seem like an act of weakness, but in reality, it's a gesture of tremendous strength and self-control. Imagine someone who is wronged or insulted. The natural reaction would be to retaliate, to return the blow. However, by choosing not to react with violence but with compassion, this person not only breaks the cycle of aggression but also challenges the aggressor to reconsider their own actions. It's an act of peaceful subversion, where victory is not measured by physical triumph, but by moral triumph. Moreover, Jesus speaks of the importance of mercy. In a world where justice often meant severe and unyielding punishment, he introduces the idea that true justice must also include mercy. This means offering forgiveness even when it's not deserved, reaching out to help those who have erred, and showing compassion instead of condemnation. In a society where honor and pride often dictated people's actions, this call to mercy was, and still is, a revolutionary proposal. It challenges individuals to rise above their baser instincts and seek a higher form of human interaction. Loving one's neighbor, as Jesus taught, goes beyond mere words. It includes loving even your enemies, an idea almost unimaginable for most people, both then and now. Loving those who love us is easy, but Jesus challenges each person to love those who cause them pain, who persecute them, or who oppose them. This form of love is not a passive feeling, but an active decision to act with kindness and understanding, even when the heart wants to do the opposite. It's an internal revolution that, when applied, has the power to transform not just individual relationships but the entire society. Thus, the Sermon on the Mount was not just a series of teachings, but a call to a new way of living, where human relationships are guided by love, compassion, and forgiveness. Jesus didn't offer an easy path, but one that, if followed, leads to inner peace and a more just and harmonious world. The revolution he proposed is just as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago, and as these ideas begin to resonate, they lead us to another equally transformative principle, the famous Golden Rule, which challenges each of us to put ourselves in the shoes of others, redefining the concept of empathy and action. The Golden Rule, one of the most celebrated lessons from the Sermon on the Mount, is not just an ethical guideline, but a revolutionary principle that challenges the most entrenched notions of human behavior. Do to others what you would have them do to you. Simple in its formulation but profound in its implications, this rule demands more than mere observance of social norms. It requires active empathy, the ability to put yourself in another's shoes so completely that your actions are guided by the desire to promote the well-being of others, just as you seek your own. To understand the depth of this teaching, imagine a daily situation, dealing with someone who treats you with indifference or hostility. The instinctive response might be to reciprocate in kind. However, the Golden Rule suggests a completely different approach. Instead of retaliating, you are called to consider how you would want to be treated if the roles were reversed. Perhaps the person is having a difficult day, carrying an invisible burden. By responding with kindness, you not only diffuse the situation, but also create an opportunity to turn a negative interaction into something positive. This practice of active empathy can be applied in various spheres, from the workplace to personal relationships, fostering a culture of mutual respect and understanding. Beyond its practical application, the Golden Rule also challenges people to reconsider their motivations. It's not just about acting correctly to avoid conflict or to maintain a good reputation. Jesus invites each person to act with purity of intention, seeking the good of others simply because it's the right thing to do. This elevates ethical behavior to a higher level, where actions are not guided by the fear of negative consequences, but by a genuine desire to contribute to the common good. This shift in perspective may seem small, but it has the power to radically transform the way we live our daily lives. The Golden Rule also connects with the idea of divine justice, where each person is called to act not based on what they receive from others, but on what they would like to receive. It's a reversal of logic that requires emotional and spiritual maturity. By internalizing this rule, a person begins to see others not as adversaries or competitors, but as fellow travelers. And this creates a more cohesive and harmonious community, where bonds are strengthened by positive reciprocity and mutual trust. This teaching is undoubtedly challenging. But by adopting it, you open the door to a life of greater inner peace and healthier, more fulfilling relationships. And so, as Jesus continues to expound on these deep truths, he also addresses an issue that touches on another dimension of existence: priorities and trust in God. This is the next step in this journey of inner and outer transformation, where the perspective on what truly matters is completely redefined. At the heart of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus presents a message that challenges the relentless pursuit of material goods and the anxiety that often accompanies this pursuit. He invites his listeners to reevaluate their priorities, placing trust in God above all earthly concerns. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. These words are not a call to neglect daily responsibilities, but an invitation to a radical shift in how we approach life and what we truly value. Imagine, for example, a person who spends their days worried about their finances, constantly anxious about how they will pay the bills, maintain their standard of living, or accumulate more wealth. Jesus doesn't ignore these concerns but offers a different solution. He suggests that instead of being consumed by these anxieties, this person should direct their focus to something greater, the pursuit of the kingdom of God. This means living a life guided by justice, compassion, and faith, believing that by doing so, their material needs will be met in ways that may not always be visible or immediate, but are guaranteed by a deep trust in divine care. This change in perspective is powerful. It frees the person from the tyranny of the constant need for control and the illusion that their security depends solely on their efforts. By trusting in God, not as a distant idea but as a real and active presence in their life, the person can experience a peace that transcends human understanding. This trust is not passive but active, requiring conscious participation in building a life that reflects the values of the kingdom of God. It's like a farmer who, while trusting that the harvest will come, continues to work diligently in cultivating their crops. Moreover, by prioritizing the kingdom of God, the person also learns to discern between what is truly important and what is fleeting. The concerns about what to wear, what to eat, or how to impress others begin to lose their power, being replaced by a search for meaning, purpose, and connection with the divine. This doesn't mean abandoning responsibilities or needs, but placing them in their proper place, secondary to the spiritual quest. This realignment of priorities leads to a more balanced life, where inner peace becomes a constant companion, even in the midst of life storms. Finally, Jesus points out that by living this way, the person not only finds peace, but also becomes a source of peace for others. Their life becomes a living testimony that by trusting in God and seeking His kingdom, all other things really do fall into place. This doesn't eliminate challenges, but transforms how these challenges are faced. And in this transformation lies the true power of Jesus' words. As these truths are internalized, the journey continues, culminating in a call to action, where the teachings of the Sermon on the Mount become a solid foundation upon which to build an entire life. The Sermon on the Mount was not just conceived as an inspiring speech, but as a practical call to action. Jesus did not intend for his words to be merely admired, but lived, incorporated into every aspect of daily life. Living the sermon means taking the teachings you've heard and applying them in the decisions you make daily, in the moments when no one else is watching. It's about building your life on a solid foundation, like a house built on a rock, resistant to the storms and challenges that will inevitably arise. Imagine, for example, facing a difficult situation at work, where the temptation to act selfishly or dishonestly is strong. Living the sermon means remembering Jesus' words and choosing the path of integrity, even when it means making sacrifices. It's showing mercy when the initial instinct might be revenge, and it's extending a hand to the needy, even if there's no immediate benefit to you. These small but powerful daily acts are the true essence of living according to the principles Jesus taught. Moreover, living the sermon is also a personal journey of self-knowledge and spiritual growth. It's not about achieving perfection, but about constantly seeking a life that reflects the values of the kingdom of God. This means practicing meekness, purity of heart, and the pursuit of justice, not as distant goals, but as integral parts of who you are and how you interact with the world. Every action taken based on these principles strengthens the foundation upon which you are building your life, creating a more meaningful existence that is resilient to adversities. This practice not only transforms you internally, but also has a powerful impact on those around you. By living the sermon, you become a living example of Jesus' teachings, inspiring others to do the same. It's a domino effect, where your actions, no matter how small, can cause waves of change in other people's lives. And by doing so, you not only follow in Jesus' footsteps, but also help build a world that reflects the values of compassion, justice, and love for others. Therefore, the call is clear. It's not enough to just hear Jesus' words. They must be lived. Put these teachings into practice and see how they can strengthen the foundations of your life. making it more resilient and fulfilling. And with this firm foundation, you will be prepared to face any storm that may arise. But before closing, there is still more to be explored. Stay tuned, because what comes next is an invitation to reflect on how these truths can transform not just your life but also the world around you. Now that you've discovered the hidden truths of the Sermon on the Mount, the big question is, how will you apply this knowledge in your life? Think about the situations where you felt lost or overwhelmed. Could the key to changing that have been right in front of you all along? Apply these lessons in your daily decisions, in your relationships, and watch the transformation unfold. And if you still have doubts or want to share your own experiences, leave a comment below. We love hearing how these teachings impact your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep receiving content that really makes a difference. The next video could be the next step in your journey of transformation.